Yeah. Do I think it's needed? Yes. I think, what's the best way of putting it? Uh, I think probably from the 80s through to, I don't know, let's say 2019, I think cricket was on a decline from a national conversation to very much a niche sport in England. And anyone arguing against that because they go to a county game and see, but put it this way, Chris, when I go to Lords, one of my fun games when I'm on the tube is trying to work out if which person is going to the cricket and which person is not, and it's not a hard game to do. And in a normal environment, that I'd be looking for team shirts and white hats. But the actual skin tone, the um, the outfits that people choose comes from a certain class of people who go to those games over and over again. And you can do a similar thing kind of anywhere with cricket at times in the UK. That's a huge problem, right? Like,
It's the signage.
and honestly, the grounds don't matter, right? Uh, it's good for the local boards. It's essentially good for the ECB because it gets a bit more tickets stuff. But modern sports are not built on people going to them. Modern sports are built on streaming, a little bit on TV rights still, although that will disappear shortly. It really is how many people you can get to watch it. This is a much better TV product as far as the way it's set up.
Right.
Yeah, but regardless of that, you can always make the ticket sales cheaper. You can come up with other ways to get people into the ground. What matters is what you know. I don't know what I would say in cricket that it would be somewhere around 95 to 97% of the money comes in via TV rights and streaming compared to 2 or 3% for ticket sales worldwide. UK is slightly different. Australia is slightly different, obviously. But realistically, when it comes down to it, it's like there's no competition here anymore, right? From the moment that sport went on to cable TV rights and TV rights, even on free to air, have been what have paid for sport. And it wasn't that case before. Before it was certainly the grounds. If you were trying to get it back onto free to air TV, which is essentially what the ECB were trying to do, the 100 was a tournament that they had to do that with. There is no way that the BBC was going to be taking 5 blast games, right? It wouldn't have worked for them. Then you have to bring in the advertisers. One of the reasons that the 100 put the women so front and center wasn't because the ECB loves women's cricket. It's because the advertisers were like, "You're starting a new tournament. We want to advertise on women as well. We want women to be in our ads. We don't just want this to be a male sport." Again, that is much easier to do when you're starting a new tournament from scratch. So, look, at the end of the day, the 100 is just another T20 tournament with a weird kink in it that hopefully one day will be sorted out, or we'll end up with 83 different tournaments of slightly different lengths. But that's all it is, right? It's everything else that allowed it to go onto free-to-air TV that made it a better product to be talked about, that brought women involved, that brought more advertisers, that brought diverse fans in. All those sorts of things were a success. As a T20 tournament, just the same as everything else, really, just with different uniforms and different names. But I definitely think it was needed in English cricket as, uh, especially as I spend more time with my kids going, to their practice and all those sorts of things. It's the same people. It's people with similar backgrounds to me and my wife, who, immigrants to the UK who come from cricket nations. It's the middle classes. It needs to be spread, and that is what the idea of the 100 was. The 100, I think the people who hate the 100 don't understand that the biggest problem that cricket was facing as a sport was that it was narrowing to such a point that it was almost inbreeding itself to, a lack of relevancy and what's that? It was almost waiting for fans to die and then the sport would die. You have to continue to keep building your fans. And for 40 years, English cricket had not done that. And the only thing that had happened was the T20, which was actually a lovely little thing that happened. And then England had allowed that to go back into the county game again and not grow the game in the way that it should have. There's nothing wrong with county cricket, as I've said, as an entertainment vehicle for people who love it. And I've got no problem with county cricket. I go and watch it all the time and would love, if anyone ever wants to give me a job, just from county cricket and pay me money, I'm more than happy to do that. But when it talks about growing the game, when it talks about getting the game into new conversations, when it talking about getting women and people from non-traditional cricket backgrounds into the game, English cricket had done very little. And I think the 100 did a lot of those things, even if it did it in a haphazard sort of accidental way. Yeah.
Who were coming through?
No doubt. I mean, look, it's a good tournament. It's a better tournament than the Blast. If you can run both of them at the same time, you're in a perfect situation because you can use the Blast as your development league and then use your 100 as your top of the tier tournament. That would be perfect.
Yeah, just to know
probably,
with the calendar and the weather and.
Oh, I mean, the way that cricket is run doesn't make any sense, and that what I've just said won't make any more sense than what currently is. Well, that is what currently is happening. But from a development point of view, you have so many players in England playing white ball cricket. As you said, from the women point of view, it's the only way to catch Australia at the moment. Thanks for your question, though, mate.